YouTube. And tonight, welcome Facebook to the Scarpad Domain family and Scarpad's Sci-Fi Sojourns. Glad to have both the channels with us tonight. And tonight, we're talking about a movie that deals with, Russians, the 80s, the Star Child, and all sorts of stuff. We're talking about 2010, the year we made contact, a movie that had to live up to a masterpiece in Stanley Kubrick's 2001. This is kind of like 2001 without all the Stanley Kubrickness, artsy fartsy stuff. And Arthur C. Clarke wrote the novel, and this is based on. Of course, he changed the novel to kind of accommodate some of the movie. And this movie came out in 1984. It cost $28 million to make. Only made about 40. It was a moderate hit, and then it went on to be a bigger hit worldwide. It was up against some big wigs, though: Beverly Hills Cop, Starman, and Doom. So there you go. But it's still a very good time at the movies. And to talk to us about that tonight, I'm going to bring in one of the guys always with us usually. It's Steph, even though I'm not sure. Maybe he's not with us, but he should be there in a second or two. Steph, come on in when you can. We expect to get Dylan here shortly, hopefully. So,
Yo, my bad.
There he is. Okay, Steph. All right, don't see you, but I do hear you. Now I hear you, I don't see you.
Coming. There we go. All right. What's going on?
Hey, how's it going? So, tonight we're talking 2010. Is this the first time you saw the movie?
Yes. My first time seeing it. I didn't even know there was a sequel to this until you had mentioned it.
A lot of people don't. Unfortunately, I think the sequel is. I always felt this movie is very underrated. It really told a great story. It was a really good sequel to bring around the ending of 2001. Here we get Roy Scheider taking over the role that was played by another actor in the first movie. He was briefly in it, and playing the head of the operation here to go back to Io and find out what happened to the two astronauts, Bowman and I can't remember his other name. Keir character.
The fun little random tidbit that reminded me of Sunshine, and the sense that they had to figure out what happened to Icarus One. Like I could see how Sunshine borrowed from this movie.
Yeah, and then so they go. They have to launch the. They have to go ahead and launch the mission. Of course, they're not going to make it in time. The Russians are going to beat them to it, so they kind of have to get together with the Russians, which brings those two crews together with everything that's going on Earth. Earth's currently in the brink of war with the Russians, and they're going out to investigate. Not only the crewmen, they also want to find out what happened to make Hal go friggin' nuts. Right. So they bring the guy who actually created Hal. Hal's created along with him, played by Bob Balaban. This movie has a hell of a cast. You got Roy Scheider, you got John Lithgow, who's fantastic in the movie. Helen Mirren, who's extremely young in the movie. Well,
that was Helen Mirren
as the Russian cosmonaut, a woman there, captain, and then you have John Lithgow, who's just great in it, and Bob Balaban, who's kind of a cheap man's Richard Dreyfuss. He was really good. I like how they made him kind of act like the computer in this movie. It was directed by Peter Hyams, who did, as we mentioned, he did like Outland and Time Cop and Sudden Death and a bunch of movies in the 80s. Very alienous. After Alien, a lot of the scenes, a lot of the spaceship stuff looks a lot like Aliens. You get the table scenes, the cryogenic scenes. So it had that kind of Aliens look to it, Alien. And I like the story. We'll get into the story a little bit more, but why don't you go ahead and just your initial impressions on seeing the movie for the first time?
It was good. It was interesting. I like I said, I didn't know there was a sequel to this for the longest time. I didn't really know who was in it. I didn't bother to look in. I knew who Lithgow was, but I didn't know the guy from Jaws. I didn't know his name. I didn't know he was the main character in this. So that was cool seeing him in this. It reminded me, and maybe this was like the thing at the time to buy, but it reminded me of like Alien to Aliens. I know I keep using that example a lot recently, but the first one definitely had the atmosphere. It was very artsy and fantastical. In a sci-fi, even though a
Yeah,
sci-fi
this
movie,
one's a bit more grounded.
grounded. Yeah, and
It
it
only
did a
supposed to
little
take place in the span of the movie like 9 years after it's 2010. Obviously, it's
right.
18 years in real time, but they kind of downplayed the futuristic aspect because they weren't
Yeah.
guessing as much. They didn't
Yep.
try to make like what 1968 thought 2001 was going to look like. This is
Right.
just like this is now it's 1984. Try to guess what
In the
2010 looked like, and they kind of brought it a little bit more down to it's not as fantastical. You know
is
what I mean?
yeah, it was very the first one is very bold in its artistic
Right,
look at the future. This one is kind of more, like you would said, more grounded, more realistic take on what the future might have actually looked like
right.
2009, well, in 1984, but 2010. But I enjoyed it. I almost feel like, because there's certain movies that I feel that because of the title they fall under, sometimes they hold a certain weight or standard that they can't stand up against. Like The Last Jedi is a weird one because I feel like there's a good sci-fi movie in The Last Jedi, but had it not been a Star Wars movie, like even Halloween Kills or what's the Halloween Ends, had it not been called like
Right.
Halloween Ends, or maybe if the structure was different, it would have been perceived differently. This is kind of a movie in that genre because of the legacy of the first one, that
Right.
it, that people are gonna have a bold stance against it no matter what. But it's a solid sci-fi film on its own.
Dylan, this is the first time you saw this movie too, correct? And welcome, Dylan, by the way.
Oh.
I don't know if Dylan's playing that he's frozen or he's just sitting there. Hey, Dylan, you're on, baby. Yeah, I think he's lagging a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Well, thank you.
Oh, I just peeped this. That's dope.
Okay, yeah. Hey, you're on. I can hear you. What did you think of the movie, Dylan?
I liked it. I liked it, man. I thought it was pretty damn good. Stuff said,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I almost like it just as much, if not maybe one. And I know that's like blasphemy, but so like I think it's just being in it makes me like it a little more. I think they're both really. It's almost like a Psycho 2 situation.
I could understand that.
Where
It's more. It's
you know what I mean, like when Psycho.
Yeah.
It's like Psycho 2 situation for sci-fi, but
Right.
Or
And it almost had a little bit. It
like
almost had a
Psycho
little
2.
bit of a.
Sequel.
Right.
And this
Right.
almost had a little
Right.
bit of a horror vibe to it, just a little bit.
Yeah.
But the thing I like about it is they well, I kind of think of it as kind of like this one is telling the story straight on, mainstreamly. It didn't try to get in to break it up with the visuals to try to make it more than what it was. It had the visuals,
Right.
had some great set pieces. But I like it that it told a couple different stories. It told basically the redemption of Roy Scheider's character, who basically thought he was to blame for this. And then he finds out that basically, and the same thing, it had the redemption of the Hal computer character, who we find out goes crazy because he gets lied to about the mission. And he has to lie to the astronauts, which makes him go crazy and do what he does. And in the end, we get his redemption because once he's told the truth, when the guy finally comes out at the end of the movie and stops bullshitting him and tells him that basically he's going to die, he's going to be killed, he goes right for the mission. Okay, let's go. He's up for sacrificing himself. When he's told the truth, he redeems himself, and he redeemed him. That character through the computer, and Roy Scheider kind of gets redeemed in the movie. And go ahead.
It's that there's elements of this and Moon as well.
Right.
Like there's a lot. Like it's kind of crazy how I haven't really heard about this movie, but there's a lot of shout outs or homages to other modern sci-fi movies to this specific movie.
And they even give something for Bowman to do, because I love Bowman's little scenes, and that's why they're in the intro for this. Is I love the scenes where he goes back and says goodbye to his wife, and when he goes ahead, kisses and brushes his dying comatose mother, comes out of her coma. You don't even see him; you just see the brush moving up and down.
Like
and then she just dies after that with a smile on her face. That was a great scene. And it's
Yeah.
little touches like that in the movie. And just it does kind of give an optimistic ending because we find out that, for everything that's going on, we never really find out what the monoliths are, but we do find out that
Right.
they're kind of here to help us
The
and,
purpose.
stay away from us. You can go to all the worlds you want. Don't come here. But in the end, there's new life on that moon, and you see the
Right.
monolith just like in the first movie, just standing there like you did in the first movie. You see like the monolith with the gorillas when the dawn of
Mhm.
man. Well, here he is. He's standing there on a new dawn of a new planet with new wilderness all around. It was a barren wasteland.
Yeah.
So I love that ending. It was such a positive ending. But
Yeah. It was that's why I said compared to it, the whole vibe was compared to the aliens to Alien because just the whole tonal shift was different. Where the first one was a little bit I don't want to say nihilistic, but like you said, there was more of an optimism in this movie about the plight they were up against.
right.
And I can always respect that.
So your thoughts on that, Dylan, as far as the story goes of the movie?
Yeah, I think it's a great sequel, man. Honestly, I think it's like a step right after the first one, a continuation. And they're just trying to figure out what happened,
Right.
to the lost, ship. What happened with Hal 9000 or whatever? What happened to the I forget what his name is, but the main guy who we were just talking about, who goes
Bowman, yeah.
goodbye to his Bowman, yeah, who says goodbye to his wife, his mother. I think because it's like normally you think they might cut him out completely and not even show him and just be like, yeah, and kind of overthrow his story and
Right.
he got lost or something. Then it's all about like finding the ship or something. But it's like they go straight for it, man. It's a straight up continuation, which is it almost like that's why I compare it to like a Psycho 2 because I'm sure, man, everyone said, dude, you don't there's no need for a sequel. There's no need for a
Right.
sequel. It's like with
Well, that's
Psycho.
exactly what they said for
You
years.
know
You
what I
can't
mean?
make a sequel to this movie. You can't make
I
a sequel
think
to
they
classic.
did.
2001.
I like this movie a lot.
People
I
were
like it a lot.
condemned. People were condemned to even try until the guy came out, Arthur C. Clarke, who wrote the book, both of them, and they
Yeah.
started writing the novels. And now they told people for years, don't try to remake or don't try to do a sequel to 2001. It's like trying to do a sequel to The Godfather. Of course, Godfather 2 is like better than The Godfather, but
Right.
I'm
Right.
not saying this is better than 2001. 2001 is a visual masterpiece, but
Right.
I like where this movie goes.
What it adds.
Before we get more into it, I want to say hey to the chat. Evan, thanks for coming. Two Gun Pedro's in the house. Hey, Two Gun, how you doing tonight? Always here. Oh man, Two Gun. Rogue Collecting is here. How you doing, Rogue? Sal Felix is here. Sal, thank you for stopping by. An old timer. Little Chaos and Comics in the house. How you doing, Chaos?
Hey.
Glad to
Hey,
see you.
yeah.
Stop by. So how you doing? So yeah, thank you guys all for coming in. Welcome everybody that's watching tonight on Facebook as well for the first time. And what I like too is I also like the fact that we get those other side characters. I think John Lithgow adds
Yeah.
a ton, along with the Russian cosmonaut, a little comic relief in there. I love the best scene I think in the movie is when he's trying to go over and he's walking to get into Discovery, which is doing that rotation, and he's gonna puke all over the place and stuff. That scene I think is great. I think that's the best scene I think in the movie, as far as an action scene goes, and just
Some of
I
the
love that
CGI was it was weird because some of it was really great in this movie, or the effects, I guess you could say, but some of it was
well, I don't think it was
worse.
CGI yet. Some of it was, but they were still using
More
models.
green screen. Yeah.
They still do.
Well,
models.
the effects it was jarring because certain shots were really nice, and then the other shots it looked cheaper than what we saw in 2001: Space Odyssey.
Yeah, and it probably was. I'm sure.
There's like that one where they're what is it? They're like trying to get into the Discovery, and you see them kind of just floating in mid-space, the two, him and the Russian. And that looked a little wonky.
I'm sure they're just up on wires, doing the old wire dance.
Right, yeah. And then they're just throwing like a background behind them. But it's just, and even that, like, I feel like it just looked like it just still it looked like very early CGI, if anything. If that's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
like if there is any, that would be like the one where it just But I thought for the most part it looked really good.
Yeah,
There
that's the
are
only scene that threw
like
me off.
Mhm.
That was
the
the one you just said.
planet kind of sucking in or whatever, where
Right.
it
Yeah,
looks like an eyeball.
Yeah, it's
But
tough to
yeah, I
do with
mean,
some of those plant
it
scenes,
still
you
looked.
know.
I love the way the model ships look, and I think everything was spot on with the discovery and everything. I did think, it looked great, and the set designs were really nice.
yeah, hell yeah.
I really I
Very,
have
very alien
that I
inspired.
would
Very
like
good.
this film a lot, just because Scarpad's like, yeah, this is a little more straight up. Because I was a little hesitant about
Me too.
2001. I didn't really care. Like the artsy fartsy stuff, man, just doesn't. It's like I'm not wowed by all that. I'm like, yeah,
Right.
the movie
Well,
is beautiful,
right.
but I want a good story too. And
Well,
I
I think
felt like
yeah, I think this
2001
movie
wasn't
tied.
like it
I
was
think
just
this.
more focused on Kubrick's. Oh my God, he's just such a
Yeah,
visual masterpiece. When it's like John Wick 4 looked better,
yeah.
like
Right.
I
Well, keep in this movie,
that looked fucking incredible to me. But
Peter Hyams, who directed this movie, also was a cinematographer this movie
yeah,
too. And I think he
Okay.
was a cinematographer in a lot of those other movies too,
oh
from like
really?
Alien and stuff like that. And that's where a lot of this look
That would
comes
help.
from.
I think
Yeah.
both of them though, like
But but I
are
think the
really. It's a
both
good double
movies
feature.
both movies are really the story of the
Yes.
monolith, how it affects our human development, and then
Mankind
how it
and
goes out
yeah.
into the future. But whereas this movie tackled it pretty straight on, in the other movie we get the beginning with the apes, we see the monolith, then we see it on the
Right.
moon, and then we see it. They find out that it's in space between Jupiter, but going between those points, we get a lot of long sequences of like music with the ships. And look, remember this is '68.
Yeah,
They
true.
if that didn't happen in '68 with the long musical and the big shots of the ships, we would have never got Star Wars. That movie really set the stage for getting a movie like Star Wars.
Epic, yeah.
This one just kind of like brought it down a little bit more to ground level
Yeah.
and dealt with those almost the same topics, but a little bit more straight on.
Not in a
And,
fantastical way, like a
and it did,
like
and it did it very, it did very low key. As I said, I love the fact that the movie was able to present this science fiction notion. We still at the end of the movie we get like Bowman, and you see him as the old man. You see him as a star
yep.
child again. He's an
Yep.
entity here. We get all that, but the movie has time, and it's not a long movie. It's only like a 2-hour movie, but it has time for like quiet stuff. We get to see like, it's going to take 4 months for Roy Scheider's character to train to go to Jupiter. So we get him leaving his wife and kid, and we get those scenes with his son where he has to leave him and he sees him in the bedroom and stuff like that before he goes ahead and he goes on a trip. And then we get we get the scenes on Earth ahead of time. We get the scenes with Bowman and his wife, and we get all that. So we get those little quiet scenes as well. And then we get a lot of nice interaction between the crew on the ship, between the captain and him, and the whole fact that basically they're not only trying to preserve what's going on out in space, but at the same time we get that against the backdrop of maybe them going back to Earth and not being nuked. So I mean, a lot of big story points in this movie that it hits. In a pretty good runtime without ever feeling like it's dull or boring or sitting still. What did you mentioned you liked the spaceship film? What did you think of the overall flow of the movie and the
I think it's great, man. I think honestly, I really enjoy it, man. I think it's just because I do really like 2001. I picked it up on 4K. I think it's a beautiful movie. It's just you got to be in the right frame, right, like frame of mind for it. And this one's just like a little more straightforward. They toned down some of those long, drawn out scenes where you still get some of those. They're just not as drawn out, which it's just not as much for me. You know what I mean? I don't know, but I thought the movie was really fun, man. Not fun, but it was just really intriguing to want to know where it continues after 2001 left. I think it's a great double feature.
And you get a good idea of what I love all that stuff with Hal.
Yeah.
Because now the doctor's got a computer called Sal on Earth, Sal instead of Hal.
Where he
And
like he's like trying to protect Hal and everything. He's
right.
like, I reset him. He's like, you're the because Roy, when he's telling Roy Schneider, he's like, he was told to lie because of you, and he's like, what? I didn't do no.
Well, I love the whole movie. Roy Scheider and John Lithgow have this plan, and they don't know what's going to happen when they turn Hal back on. He might go fucked up crazy again.
Right.
And so they in a calculator, he's planted a little thing, and he planted like a little kill switch in Hal.
Yeah.
All he's got to do is hit it, and then I love at the end of the movie there, the doctor guy hands it back to. Scheider goes, I took this out at the beginning. It was never in his calculator. He never could show him out.
Yeah.
He found it like immediately. And that's a great scene too. I mean, and at the end when Hal's presented with the truth, he does what's right.
He does the right thing.
He does the right thing.
I kind of like that because they made it seem like it was, all about kind of him, and he kind of gets redeemed in a way. Where
right, it wasn't him in the end. It was the fact that he was lied to.
He only went crazy. Well, not even like he kind of went crazy because he didn't know like how to lie,
how to handle
which I kind of like that. Like he kind of malfunctioned because he would like something like that isn't really meant to lie. It's supposed to just kind of. It's
right.
Give facts, give answers, yeah.
Yeah, because there's been a lot of theories ever since the first movie. Because the first movie's so vague, is some people thought it wasn't. Some people thought it was the monolith telling him what to do and to kill the crew, and that wasn't the case at all. He was just
That's the only thing I could see with people, because how a lot of people love when a movie is so vague. They're like, I like that. I like that it's up to interpretation, which I understand, and I like that sometimes. But I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I want to know the answers. You know what I mean? Or like at least have like a good proportion of the answers, and then like you can leave the rest up to interpretation. So I do really like that you get a lot of the answers in this. You know what I mean? And that, because especially with a movie like 2001 and how iconic it is to people and to the sci-fi genre, I think that it's like, hell yeah, dude. We figure some of this stuff out, and I really enjoy that. I really think the scriptedness is a little tighter. I think the look of the movie is still spot on. It might not be as artsy as the first one, but
it had a cool vibe to it. Some of the shots,
seriously.
like it reminded me of Never Ending Story. Certain shots just very dreamlike, and it was very beautiful, and it's very beautiful.
It is.
So that's why that one scene you mentioned earlier about the spacewalking and it's looking, the shuttle spinning and it looked kind of looking cheap. But that's the only one that took me out. Yeah. The rest of it was
even the planet with like it looks like it's the one it's kind of sucking in, and then even when it's looking like an eyeball, like I was like, it doesn't look bad to me, It was really just that one. It was really just that one where it looks like they're like walking or something, You can
it's too bad that this movie didn't do even more business, because there's like 5.
So it was only moderate success.
Well, when it first came out, it ultimately made a lot of money, but
this one they talk about this one in Search of Tomorrow.
Yeah. And,
no way!
But it's too bad that there's like 5 books. There's 5 novels up to like 21, 3,000. Yeah, and it's too bad they didn't film the other 3 books, because that would have been pretty interesting. It takes even further in the future. Now. I think the next book takes up to 2,100. Then there's like 26, and there's like 3,010.
Really?
Yeah, but they didn't continue on. But
I'm surprised they never came back, like even these past few years, or like in the last 10 years, haven't tried to do something with that.
Maybe maybe refilm the whole thing again. This would make, I think, it would make a great miniseries. Like you do.
Who could do it? Denis Villeneuve, whatever his name is, the Dune director. He could make a total dope ass sequel.
Yeah, but I think this would make a better series on television, because you start off redoing 2001. And then you take and do all the novels, and you do it.
Each season would be a novel.
Yep.
Yeah, each season could be a novel. That would be beautiful if they did it that way.
Yeah.
And then
But
it kind of
as
like,
long as they did it right, you
Yeah.
know, and then didn't
Yeah.
cheat. It would have to be like a HBO special, and not
Yep.
not special. It
well,
would
that'd
have
be HBO, yeah. And
That
I'd like to see
quality,
them,
yeah,
and I'd like to
yeah.
see them
they have to
like
put the
not base it on everything we
into
see
it.
in the movies. Really stick more to the books, you know, and because the books are a little different than the movies are. So,
Okay.
all right. So real quick, what we take the next section here, real quick, is we'll discuss the message because the message is the message. The message is all these worlds are yours except Europa. Attempt no landing there. Use them together. Use them in peace. So what happened at the end of this movie? Well, I mean, basically, you had the big giant monolith overseeing a bunch of fellow monoliths because he said there was millions upon. That's what was creating that big black hole that basically started nuclear fusion and turned Jupiter into a star, a new sun. So now there's a new sun in the sky, and that's why when at the end of the movie you see two suns in the sky, and that's what allows Earth to basically settle in peace. They shake off the differences now, knowing that there's a new world out there. So basically, he's telling them that what's happened now that there's a new sun that's a little bit closer to those other three planets of like Uranus, Pluto, Mercury, and Neptune. You see them at the end; those will all become habitable planets now because
Right.
of the sun being there. You know, at least something they could do. So he said, the monolith said, you can go there, you do all those, but stay away from Europa. And then we see at the end, stay away from it because now he's overseeing a whole new life on that planet. So that goes into the whole, go back to the beginning. The monoliths, I think in the books, are supposed to be
Overseeing life.
overseeing us, and they're the ones that started life
all
on
these
the planet and stuff.
Cosmos.
you're landing there.
Yeah. So I mean, so that was a great ending because we get to see basically the result of what we get a closure on the monolith and what's going on there. But a major thing has happened. A whole new sun is in the sky. You know.
Yeah, but what I was thinking about that. Like, could you actually terraform a planet like the Neptune and all that shit since they're like gas giants and shit like that?
Well, I think because of the sun being there, they would now develop some kind of an atmosphere. And yeah, you could probably do something with them. So they said you can go there, just don't go to the moon. And I was thinking, well, gee, what would a sun do to the Earth? I mean, you got now a new sun, but
the heat,
you gotta figure that the sun is so much bigger than Jupiter. Jupiter's a big planet, but it's not as big as the sun. So it's like a tinier sun. So it would probably have some effect. Hell, it's gonna be 90 here next week. It could be 100. It literally is 50 here this week.
Do they say what would happen? Like why they don't want him to go to Europa? Like he says that they can have all the other worlds except that one.
It's there. Well, you get the idea that because he's overseeing all that new life. You see at the end the monolith, and you see all kind of like life forms developing on that moon. So he doesn't want him to go there. You can go everywhere else.
I don't even know if I picked that up.
Yeah. That's the very last shot of the movie. You'll see in the trailer when I close out the But yeah, I mean, I love that even the monolith got an ending, a resolution. So when you watched it, how did you interpret the ending?
I was a little cloudy on that. I mean, you clarified it a little bit more for me, to be honest. So I gotta go with that.
It's still clearer than the end of 2001.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's not as ambiguous as 2001: Space Odyssey. It's more straightforward. More like I said, it's not as nihilistic, if that's the right word, but it's definitely had an optimistic tone throughout the movie that it held on to towards the end as well, even with that resolution with the utopia rule.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with what you said.
Yeah, it could be. It could be anything really. But you kind of you get that voiceover by Roy Scheider at the end of it, so it doesn't leave too much room for he's basically telling you what's happening here.
Right.
The only thing I don't get, the only thing that didn't make too much sense in the movie is the trip to Jupiter wasn't going to take like 20 years. It was 2.5 years. Now that's a long time. But they
Right.
said in the movie, she asked the guy, "Why do you have to go to sleep for 2 years?" Oh,
The
because
daughter.
we'll go crazy if you don't. Will people really go crazy in 2 years if they're not sleeping?
I,
On a long
I
trip?
I
They
think
did
that
that
was
in the
just
original
like
movie
this
too, but
understanding of space at the time. You know, in 80. Well, I don't know much about
but
astronauts, but I don't know. I wanted to say this got something to do with it. I don't think because in Sunshine, that was like the trip. It took them like 2 years, right, to
right,
get to the sun or whatever, and
a lot
they were
further.
awake the whole time.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought that was kind of the conceit of the movie. That didn't really need, but I guess maybe they did that because the
What's
first
the,
movie.
what's the longest? Does anyone know what's the longest like an astronaut stayed in space without touching from
Well,
Earth?
there's the
Like,
people up in the space station probably 6 months, maybe.
oh,
Maybe
yeah,
there's
there's
somebody
probably
up there
some.
a year, maybe. I think they have to rotate off every 6 months, and it's not because they'll go crazy. It's because your
Physiological.
muscles in your body and stuff start getting fucked up by being weightless for fucking more than
Right.
6 months. Your body starts turning to like goo, and
Because you're
it's
just in there.
you
Yeah.
don't want to be goo, so, so you come home. Of course, the problem with us is we have no way of getting home. We have to hitchhike. So, yeah, what can you do? So, when you saw the end of Dylan, I mean, how did you interpret it? How did you like the ending of the movie?
The ending.
Yeah, with the resolution, with the message, and all that.
I don't know. I just I just kind of took it as that that they now like you said they have all these inhabitable planets, and like Roy Snyder says, uh that we're like only tenants of our planet,
Right.
and
Right.
uh that basically there's always that greater purpose or something, and that the world is so much bigger than we know or can even really comprehend in our minds, and
I
I
think.
think
Go ahead.
I don't know. I'm always bad with all those things, man. I think though, it's um just kind of like how everyone always says, like how there's so much space out in the open space, and there's got to be something else. We can't be the only planet, and that kind of touches on this. I feel like where now with that second sun, there's like opportunity to
There's
know for
for
sure
life.
that there is life on other planets.
Right.
And
Right.
he even says he's like maybe one day we can be friends with them. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
in time or something. Um,
Well, Sal brings up a good point here. Sal says might have the opposite effect. You tell humans not to go to a planet, then they may be cool. Yeah, definitely. If you tell them not to go
right.
somewhere,
That's
we're going to
true.
go
That's
somewhere.
true.
They
That's
should have said,
true.
Like,
"Come
why
on
not?
down, come on down." We all have scabies or something. You're gonna get a disease. Don't stay away,
Yeah.
but don't come here. And there's gonna be starship and
That's
truckers on
why
your
I'd
ass.
like to see, like future, like what would go
Installments.
past this. But they
Yeah.
kinda, I feel like the only thing that gets left out a little bit, I know they show the shot of like the door at the end, like the black door.
Well, it's a
But
monolith. It's a the monolith, whatever that is.
monolith,
It's a
yeah,
monolith.
okay, whatever. But that's what it looks like to me is a black door. But I feel like that's the only thing that kind of gets like left out a little bit, where you still don't really understand what's going on with that.
Well,
Where
and
I don't.
he said, well, Roy Scheider doesn't either. He says right in the thing, he says, we still don't know what the monolith is, and maybe this, maybe that, may not be any of these things.
Right.
The only
Right.
thing that you know at the end of the movie is that the monolith is overseeing life coming back to that planet.
Yeah.
Anything up above that, you don't know.
Right.
But that's okay to leave that kind of a mystery there.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
mind too
true.
much. Plus, as I said, if they did film the other 3 books, we would have found out more, but they didn't do
Yeah.
that. But if you want to find out, go read
Thousand
a book.
years.
Right. Pick up a book, you son of
Pick up a book, you dumb bastards.
a.
Reading.
It's fundamental.
What is that?
But
No pictures?
Right.
well, you know what? Although Marvel made a comic book out of this 2010, so go look for that.
No shit. Oh wow.
Yeah, Marvel made a comic book out of it. But
Marvel's
yeah,
got their hands dirty.
the music, that was okay. Nothing that I think I really we got the 2001 theme at the end, which is a nice place for it.
Yeah,
Now, according to
play the theme
Wikipedia,
here and there.
one of the guys from the Police recorded a new version of 2010, but it wasn't used. And they also recorded this other song about Hal that wasn't used, so it didn't appear in the soundtrack, so they didn't put that on. So the music was okay. It was David Shire, I think, did the music for that, and he's done. What else has he done?
Time Cop,
Conversation, Saturday Night Fever, All the President's Men, most stuff in the 70s.
Okay.
And it was okay. I mean, the music was nothing that was going to hinder the film. Obviously we didn't get all the stuff that you got in the original one with the classical music and all that.
The end was a good callback though it was very fitting, like full circular or cyclical.
Yeah, but and it was nominated for 5 Academy Awards for basically makeup and costume design and sound and visual effects.
Yeah,
justified.
Bowman looked fantastic, when they do his makeup age and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the next 3 books are called 2061 Odyssey 3, 3001 The Final Odyssey, and Monolith Space Odyssey. So
there's one called Monolith.
So
that sounds dope. Yeah.
There's a book after The Final Odyssey.
I guess the Monolith gets his own book.
Man,
yeah, he's the star. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
He's a giant slab of black nothing.
I wonder how long the books are, if they're like really big and dense, like a Stephen King novel.
Yeah, I've seen them. They're I think I got a couple of them over here I haven't read. They're about 2,000 pages. They're pretty big.
Really?
Yeah, they're big. God. They're like Stephen King books. Yeah, maybe you can find go look for the golden, like they must have more of those condensed photo novels or something out there.
Yeah. That's the way to go.
We need a photo novel. All right, so I guess just time to rate it. I'm gonna rate this movie on its own terms. I think it's very solid. It's an 80s movie, but it doesn't really seem like an 80s movie. Although it does
84 at that, yeah.
84, yeah. And I am going to give it a 4.25. I liked everything it did. I think it continued on 2001, but it became its own movie and its own story, and it really didn't leave much untied up. So definitely 4.25 for me. I think the performances are great. The effects I liked. Nothing certainly that would detract anything from me. I love the conflict with all the characters. All the characters are great. The Russians are even good. Helen Mirren and the other guy that played John Lithgow's buddy. John Lithgow is great in it. He always is good in everything he's in. So definitely for me, and the guy who played the computer guy and Hal, they brought back the original voice of Hal, who's Douglas Rain. He's the same guy who did him in the original movie. To me, it's an underseen and unappreciated science fiction movie. A lot of people haven't seen it, and it's too bad that, because it's a good, decent flick. So, Dylan, your rating there, Dylan.
What'd you give it? I didn't even hear.
I gave it a 4.25. Phasers. Get your phasers out.
Oh yeah, I can grab my.
Mine just is heavy, and I can hit myself over the head with it.
I probably would give this. I forget what I gave the first one.
Well,
it doesn't really matter, but I mean it's not. I wouldn't give it a comparison, but I just want, because in ways I really do like this film a lot. More approachable.
Oh, in ways, I like this movie a lot in a lot of ways, better than the first one. But I appreciate the first one.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think I think this movie is, it's a great continuation of what the first one brings, but kind of going a little bit more into the story and what continues on, instead of just worrying about all these drawn out scenes.
Right.
Which obviously nobody can match Kubrick's vision. So I felt like they're like, we're not gonna try and copy
Well, don't
Kubrick.
even try to. Right.
We're gonna just worry about adapting the novel and just making a good movie. And I think they did it, man. I guess I have a 4 on this. I really, really enjoyed it though. I
Oh
love
yeah.
Roy Schneider. I love
Yeah.
what's
John Lithgow or Helen Mirren.
John Lithgow. I thought he was great. You got somebody named Russian chick though. She was good. I think there's a big thing going on in this movie with Russia and the United States, and that was a big thing back in those days. So I really enjoyed this movie, man. I wish they would have went farther on with the sequels because I really enjoyed where it went. I think the look of it was great. Just like Steph said, there was only one little hiccup with that one little scene,
That
but
stood
I
out.
think the movie
Yeah.
is. I think this movie, in its own way, not comparing it to Kubrick, it's still beautiful. I think it's great, man,
Yeah.
and it looks really good. And I really enjoyed it, man. I really did. I hope it gets a 4K soon because I was gonna pick up the Blu-ray.
That'd be
Uh,
beautiful.
it was like the Blu-ray's cheap right now, so I was thinking about it. But then Scarpad's like, man, by the time we get the Blu-ray, 2 months they'll have 4K, and I was like, I'd rather have 4K to go with my 2001 because I think it's a really good double feature.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
still think this movie holds up on its own.
Yeah.
I think it does. Um, yeah, though I really enjoyed it, man, and I think I wish people would have gave it more of a shot. I was gonna ask, did he make the books like after, or did he start making the books once they decided they wanted to do a sequel?
Well, the books,
These books are
no,
in.
yeah, they came out like this one before the movie, and the other ones came out after this movie. I mean,
The
all
way
through the
you said
80s
it,
and
it made it
90s,
seem like they were
2000s.
only okay with it once he started making the books.
Working
Oh
on
no,
the.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, the books I think he wrote before a lot of the movies. Yeah.
But yeah,
But
I give it a 4. I would have made. I give it a 4. It's an easy 4. I even would maybe bump it up to 4.25, but I'll go safe and do a 4. So I still really enjoyed it. I still have to compare it a little bit to Space Odyssey,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
That's fair. Yeah.
I
That's
like it.
understandable.
I still honestly I like I. It's tough because I know it's like sacrilegious to say it, but I enjoyed
There's
watching
certain.
it a little
Mhm.
more.
Yeah, it's
Right.
not as drawn out, and it's more accessible. It's almost
That's what I'm saying. It's
to
more
to a lesser degree, it's
more
almost
my
kind of
thing.
it's you can almost make the same analogy against The Shining and Doctor Sleep.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
thing, man. It's just like
Yeah.
I was just never that
That's a
like
good one.
some of his stuff, man. I think like I love what is it? Eyes Wide
Shut.
Open,
Eyes Wide
Eyes
Shut.
Wide Shut or whatever. I was not like I think The Shining's a good movie, but it's not one that I go back to all the time because I'm just like it's a bit like his movies are just a bit drawn out,
Yeah,
man.
he wants to put the art in the thing
Right.
as well. It's all about the visual
I
style
think
too.
yeah, I think
Clockwork
he has
Orange,
a great
same
visual
way.
style, but
Yeah,
I
it
don't know.
becomes classic. So Link, what do you think? What's your rating on the film?
Oh, this was a tough one. I didn't make a good point. It's hard not to compare this to 2001: Space
Definitely hard
Odyssey, and
not to,
it's
but
yeah, in its own right, it does stand in its own right. It's a better movie in certain aspects, like we said earlier. It approaches the material from 2001 in a more grounded, cohesive way.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, more easily accessible.
yeah.
Um,
Kubrick's just worried about the visuals, I feel like, and
the
just
look, yeah.
yeah.
I will give this one a 3.75 with room to grow. I say that because the movie didn't really catch me towards like the first 35 40 minutes into it. That's kind of when I started getting invested. And I only watched it once, so I want to go back and see maybe I was just not really paying attention or I just wasn't in the mood to but 3.75. Yeah, I'll go 3.75. I think it's a solid sci-fi film on its own merits, but I gotta mark it. I don't want to mark it down, but we did acknowledge that it borrowed from the look of Aliens. Some of the set pieces did kind of look like something from the Never-Ending Story, not in a bad way, but it was drawing visual inspirations from things that were already established, as opposed to 2001: Space Odyssey, where Kubrick was doing his own thing. And they're different beasts, but I gotta acknowledge that, and I think it is a strong 3.75, and I probably will bump it up upon future watches.
Yeah.
Very good. And we get unfortunately,
the monolith. It says the monoliths are machines in black cuboids whose sides extend in the precise ratio of 1.4.9, built by an unseen extraterrestrial species whom Clarke dubbed the firstborn, and who he suggests are the earliest highly intelligent species to evolve in the Milky Way. Then it says,
now you're getting into
the
spoiler
monolith in the
territory.
movie seems to represent the trigger epic transitions in the history of human evolution of humans from ape-like beings to civilized people, hence the odyssey of humankind. And it says, what happened to the monolith? The Jupiter monolith vanished near the end of the Leonov mission. It was soon discovered that it had gone to Jupiter and replicated itself millions of times over, transforming the planet into a sun.
Oh wow.
I mean, I feel like that's my biggest thing of this movie. Like, I could just dive into what this monolith thing is for hours. I feel like that's the coolest thing of this movie, in both of them. It's just I think that's such an awesome concept.
A Facebook user thinks we're talking about Stanley Kubrick. Actually, we're talking about 2010, but you can't talk about one without the other. Unfortunately, when you share to Facebook, you don't get who this person is. It just says Facebook user. But thank you, Facebook. Thank you, Facebook user, whoever you are.
I think there is a way, though, unless they don't want you to see who they are.
I don't think there is. I don't think
there is a way.
This is a new thing, and we also have a new thing. Well, hopefully, I think me and Dylan will be testing this, where anybody who logs in, like Dylan, can go ahead and he can stream this to 2 of his channels, so you can kind of network the same program across 4 different channels. So we might be trying that in the future too, and maybe with his show, I'll do it on my channel, and on my channel, we'll try it out and see what happens. And all it's going to do is get more eyes on the content, and that's not a bad thing. So that might work out. So we got a 4. You said 4, right, Link?
3.75.
3.75. 4.25.
To grow to a 4.
All right, 4.25, and you gave it a 4. So to me, this is a 4 all the way. I say an even 4. Just a little bit under 2001, but it's really a different film. Yes, don't forget phasers. Mine's just heavy. I can hit people over the head with it, but it doesn't make no noise. So hey,
you gotta get your thing in check, bro.
I know I got one over
there.
Fine
tune it, baby. Clean that butt.
Mine's in the box.
I know, man.
Mine's MIC. It's MIC. Mitten box.
You got the silencer.
MIB, not MIC. What the fuck does MIC mean? Minton case?
MI6?
No, MIC. No. You know me.
Yeah.
What is that song? You know me, MIC.
Down with OPP.
Down with OPP.
You know me. Man cave next time I'm in the Wham.
You know what OPP means? Other people's
I'm the Facebook user. Take a guess who I be. It's probably Perry's punk ass. I don't know. If you go on Facebook, you could probably see who it is.
Probably could. Could be Perry, because he was supposed to be here and he never showed. Punk ass.
If it's not Perry, then we didn't mean to call
it. It could almost be.
Guess who I be?
I'm OPP.
I feel like it has to be.
I feel like that's Perry. I guess who I be. Yeah.
OPP. I'm old Perry. Whatever his name is. Who knows? All right. Well, hey, thank you guys for showing up tonight. Appreciate it.
Oh yeah. Good choice.
I really enjoyed it.
I knew this would be a good discussion because there's a lot of stuff to talk about.
I really enjoyed
as I said, an underrated movie. It's so underrated. You really can't even find it streaming anywhere. It was on HBO and they took it down.
I know.
Now you
Wow.
can't see there. So it's a hard one to track
Just
down.
because I was gonna watch it and I was like, where is it? And they just took it down. I was like, that's why I kind of wanted to pick up the Blu-ray, but
Yeah. Stay strong.
at
Like,
least I was able to watch
4K.
it for the.
Or buy the Blu-ray because then we'll know the fucking 4K will come out the next day. So
That's what I'm saying.
if you want to do that, that's fine. All right, so I thank everybody for coming in, and thank you everybody on Facebook watching the show for the first time. Don't forget, if you can, stay tuned after 9 o'clock. Go to Robbie's channel.
Is he
He's
doing
doing
something?
Monday night pop culture philosophers at the movies, and he's doing is it Don't Shoot My Mom's Dead or
It was Sylvester Stallone.
it's
or
My Mom's Shot the Babysitter or Don't Shoot My Mom. I don't know. It's that
something
movie
with
with
Don't Shoot My
Stallone
Mom. Or,
and the girl
yeah.
from the Golden Girls. It was a
You should
pretty
never
good flick.
You should never shoot your mom.
What was that movie? It was with the girl from the Golden Girls. It was pretty good. Estelle Getty
Yeah.
and
It's a good
or
buddies
my mom
comedy.
will shoot.
Shoot, yes.
Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
I don't think I've ever seen that
Oh,
one.
I thought it was Stop or My Mom Will Shoot Off the Train.
No,
No,
it's
it's Throw
Stop
Mom
or
Off
My
the
Mom Will
Train.
Shoot.
Throw Mom
Okay,
Off
yeah.
the Train. There
Yeah.
are a lot of mothers in there.
There
In
might
the
be.
80s, don't they? Either shooting moms, shooting and throw them off the trains. The 80s was fucked up, man.
80s were wild.
It looks
He's
like
wild.
it says it be college buddy Jeff Weller, 42 years, and I'm reduced to Facebook user. Laugh out loud.
Facebook uses good nom de plume.
It's mysterious.
So maybe we'll try and get my buddy
I
Jeff in
didn't
here.
know you
He's
went to
big on movies.
college.
We'll have to get him in. In fact, maybe I know he's a huge Beatles fan, and maybe I can stretch this genre a little bit. And we'll do Yellow Submarine one night. That'll be an interesting one to do. And maybe he can come on and do Yellow Submarine with us.
The biggest thing about all that was just said was, you went to college?
I'd be college educated, yeah.
I mean, college educated.
Fabricated to hit mine.
I learned well. Anyways, so next week, what do we have coming up next week? Next week, in this very spot, on time maybe, we're doing a Roger Corman classic. Can you guess which one that is? It's Battle Beyond the Stars with John Boy Walton. John Boy Walton. Who's that big breasty babe there? Sybil Danning.
Is it 80s flick?
George Papard, 1980.
That's a good one.
1980.
Okay.
No, it came.
Battle. Yeah, it was like
before
80, 81.
No, it came after Star Wars, I think.
It's after Star Wars. It's like 81.
Because at first
Okay.
I was gonna say this isn't.
It's basically the Magnificent Seven set in space, but it's a
Yeah.
classic Roger Corman space film.
It's a good one.
And of course,
I own it.
Roger Corman went on to
beautiful.
do what he did in all his movies, cannibalize all the effect shots and make 4 more movies out of it. So, that's what Roger Corman
I
did.
enjoy Battle Beyond the Stars. It's a
You
fun
can
one.
see a lot of the effects in Space Truckers, and a bunch of other Roger Corman films.
Yeah, it's like the Magnificent Seven meets like a Star Wars esque.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's
Sure.
dope.
It's cool. It's a cool
fun
flick.
one.
I was one of my favorites.
I got a really cool steel book for it.
And
Hello.
if you don't have it, Link, we'll set you up. We'll send you a screen pass so you can watch it.
I'll find it.
And then coming up Saturday night, what do you got, Dylan? Next Saturday night, what are we watching?
This upcoming Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, we'll be reviewing The Invisible Maniac.
Okay, not The Invisible Man
The Invisible Maniac.
from 19 was it?
No,
70s?
actually, we decided to change it, and we're gonna do The Invisible Man.
God,
The one that
I'm
came
not
out a
coming.
couple years
No.
ago. Not
Or-
the
If it's a 2017 Invisible
Hollow
Man,
Man.
I'm out. No, I'd actually come
yeah,
on that.
Hollow Man for sure.
Well, Hollow Man was good. Hollow Man was better
I
than
love Hollow Man.
2017.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
telling my brother Evan, I was like, you gotta watch it because that's the guy.
If
who
you
did
guys want to do
Total
Invisible Man
Recall,
2017,
RoboCop.
I'll come on and do it.
No
I'll be
way.
out.
Hollow
Yeah,
Man?
no, we're doing The Invisible Maniac.
Yeah, that's from 1977, is it? I think.
Was
81?
it? It seemed like an 80s
Or
movie.
81.
What?
Okay.
Invisible Maniac?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's like 81, 82 or something like that.
No, I think it's even 90.
It's got a lot of titties.
Wow.
We know it's
That's
got a
by
lot of titties.
Adam Rifkin,
Yeah.
who did Detroit Rock City, but he goes by like a
What?
He goes by like a different name in it.
Okay,
Wow.
thank you. Two Gun Pedro has come out and said that he thinks Battle Beyond the Stars is on the cock. And really, what's not on the cock these days? The cock even just got knock at the
Yes,
door.
1990.
Knocking the door, not knocking
No
your
way.
cock, knocking the door, and the cock's got everything. So if you're not subscribed to
Knock
a
on
service,
Yeah.
knocking the cock, that would have been a better name for the movie than knocking the door. Maybe would have done some business in the box office had it been known
Right.
as knocking the cock. But it's knocking the door
Yeah, but,
on the cock, the
Invisible
Peacock
Maniac,
service. Go ahead and watch it.
it's done
So-
by Adam Rifkin.
Two Gun says it came out in the 90s.
But Code Name. He did like certain movies back in the 80s and 90s that like were more raunchy. So he went
Right.
under a different.
Yeah, so in other words, he was embarrassed. They
Dugan.
put a pseudonym on it. Yeah, I get you.
But
I
I'm
get you.
super excited for that.
Yeah, I did watch that
Yeah.
movie. I'll tell you what I think of it next week. But it does got a lot of TNA in it and some Bush. So
Gorgeous freaking Vinegar Syndrome slip. I mean,
Oh yeah. They put the quality out in the AAA.
It seems
Yeah,
more
I mean,
easier
I'm
to
telling you.
digest than Bloodsucking Freaks.
Bloodsucking Freaks, man. That's don't start talking down Bloodsucking Freaks in my
No.
ultimate burial ground.
this is nothing like those two movies.
Okay.
This is
That's
like
right, those are better.
Like we said, TNA.
Those are much better. Invisible Maniacs. Those are much better. But
This is like a sleazy, funny. It's like a sleazy,
we do
funny
love our
take on
sleaze
the
here on
Invisible Man.
Bad's Domain. So
Yes, sir.
that's right. But we try to keep it somewhat elevated. That's why
Somewhat classy.
That's why we're doing Battle Beyond the Stars.
Yeah,
next week.
that's why we keep it sleazy on my
Right
end,
up here.
so that you could keep it classy on your.
That's right. Keep it classy, everybody. All right. We want to thank everybody on YouTube, everybody on Facebook. If you like what you see, subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to Dylan's Horror Show. He's going to be putting out some good content as soon as we can get him a computer to do it on and Wi-Fi and everything else. He'll get going. It's coming. Link, you got anything coming up? What are you doing?
You guys will see me around one of your channels. So, I'm always around.
Always, brother. Always.
He's always on Instagram, so look up Link on Instagram. And we will see you next week for the amazing Battle Beyond the Stars. Everybody have a good week. Hold your faces up high and be good.